It's like deja vu, another shooting in California and lives unnecessarily lost. This time at the hands of an agricultural worker who killed 7 people in Half Moon Bay, California yesterday. And this makes it the state's 3rd mass killing in just 8 days. And there's still a lot we don't know as we learn more as timelines and events unravel. But this is what we do know. Now, the shooting occurred around 2:20 p.m. at 2 separate locations, the police said. 4 victims were found at a mushroom farm off Highway 92, while 2 more people were killed at another agricultural facility between 1 and 3 miles away. A third victim at this second location was rushed to the hospital in critical condition and later died. Now, a 4th person there was shot and also hospitalized with life-threatening injuries, the police had said. And also it's believed that the shooter, who is 67-year-old Za Chun Lee, who is pictured here, worked at one of the agricultural facilities and that the victims were all workers as well. Now, the sheriff's office said 7 of the victims were men and 1 was a woman. This also per the AP News. Half Moon Bay Vice Mayor Joaquin Jimenez said the victims included Chinese and Latino farm workers. Some workers lived at one of the facilities and children may have witnessed the shooting, she said. At 4:40 in the afternoon, Chun Lee's car was spotted parked outside of a sheriff's substation. And the moment police apprehended him, well, it was caught on video.
Now the sheriff says after gunning down people at 2 different locations, the shooter came here, sat at his car, and waited.
With guns in hand, deputies close in on the 67-year-old shooting suspect. Seconds later, they've got him on the ground, surrounded, hands cuffed. The arrest comes just hours after investigators say he gunned down 8 people, killing 7.
It seems pretty clear there that Chun Lee was surrendering to a certain extent by even just sitting in that substation, a police parking lot. But we also know that at a press conference later on Monday evening, Sheriff Christina Corpus said that a semi-automatic handgun had been found in that maroon SUV that Chun Lee is registered as owning. And what still seems to be a mystery is his motives. We're still trying to understand exactly what happened and why, but it's just incredibly, incredibly tragic, said State Senator Josh Becker, who represents the area and called it a very close-knit agricultural community. Now, Chun Lee was characterized as a disgruntled worker by David Pine, who happens to be the president of the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors, but we really have no details on why he was allegedly disgruntled. We just know that there's been an unnecessary mass shooting once again in California with a firearm. Cenk.
So, guys, we're in a slow motion massacre in America. And the politicians are like the Uvalde cops sitting outside doing nothing. So there was a massacre in Southern California. 2 days later, there's a massacre in Northern California. And around we go. In fact, this is the 38th mass shooting this year. Well, that sounds disastrously high if we were in December, but we're not, we're in January. We're not even out of January. It's in less than 1 month. A mass shooting is defined as 4 people, not including the shooter, getting shot. But now there's a new term that I saw today for the first time. This is 6th mass murder of this month. Mass murder is 4 people killed in a mass shooting, not including the shooter, at least. So basically the other word for it that I've been using now for years is a massacre. So we've had 6 massacres in 23 days in the beginning of this year. And nobody's doing anything about it. And nobody's ever going to do anything about it. So you just have to wait and wait for the massacre to happen in your neck of the woods. And it's a near guarantee it will. It goes around and around and around. So we don't know where it's gonna stop. I look, at this point, people coming to America are playing with their lives. And staying here is playing with your life. Because the politicians, this is late stage capitalism run amok on steroids in every, like indescribable late stage capitalism. Because the gun manufacturers, which is a relatively small industry, would like to maximize profit, our politicians are letting them kill us in massacre after massacre without doing anything to stop it. So now, do the gun manufacturers pull the trigger? No. Do they provide the guns to kill people? Yes, definitely. Does that make a difference? Yes. So let me show you this charts that we showed you yesterday. But I want you guys to see the sense of the scale, okay? So that on the lower left is all the other developed nations on earth. That's their gun homicide rate. Tiny, right? Why? Because they strictly regulate guns. On the all the way in the upper right corner, that's us. We're the only ones there. We're the only lunatics that have allowed these nonstop massacres. We know what's causing them. It's directly correlated to the rate of guns owned. And now in America, there's 120 guns for every 100 people. The rest of the world thinks that we're absolute lunatics. We're detached from reality. What kind of human beings allow themselves and their kids to be massacred on a daily basis and don't do anything about it? It's unhuman. The rest of the world is looking at us like, what is wrong with them? Instead of being the land of opportunity, now we're the land of massacres. But we have a small right-wing cult who thinks that guns are 1,000 times more important than people's lives. Oh, massacres in schools that happen over and over again, our kids getting butchered. They say, who cares? My guns are more important than your kids. Maybe we should have less stores so they could all die in a fire hazard instead. They're not even trying. And look, Adrian, motive, I'm gonna say something that might be considered controversial. Who cares? I mean, I don't care if it's a workplace thing, it's a religious thing, a political thing, a racial thing. Now that sounds like something we should care about. Of course, I care about it only if it drives more shootings, right? But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter why you're going to do something that leads us to believe you're mentally ill, right? And a specific, part of mentally ill that is violent. Not all mentally ill people are violent. I mean, look, I think at this point, about a third of the country, the Republicans are all mentally ill. They believe in insane things that can't possibly be true, but yet they believe it with all their hearts. They're not all violent, but yes, there is a section of the population that is prone to extreme violence because they're mentally unstable. And some of them will pick a personal grudge, some of them pick a political grudge, some racial, religious, etc. But it doesn't really matter because that's not the unifying theme. They're not all doing it for politics or race or crime or anything like that. They're doing it because they can, Imagine a room full of incredibly unstable people who can't wait to kill someone. Well, we walk into that room as a society and we give them assault rifles and semi-automatic guns, etc. And we go, have at it, Hoss. But you know who's the most mentally ill? It's not those guys, it's us for allowing it to happen to us over and over again. And guys, okay, so it happened again within 2 days, right? You think they're gone? They're not. It's gonna happen 2 days from now. It's gonna happen 7 days from now. It's gonna happen 4, 12, 17. So just wait and hope it isn't you, because our politicians will never do anything to help you.
No, they won't, as long as they continue collecting those coins. And the thing is that when we look on that global, larger scale, as you pointed out, we see that there are only 3 countries in the world that currently have any kind of constitutional right to bear arms. It's the US, Mexico, and Guatemala. And of course, Mexico and Guatemala were inspired by the United States. The thing is, there were other countries as well, 6 other countries that were also inspired by the United States, and they used to have a right to bear arms in their constitution, but they have since repealed the laws because they know how dangerous it is when you have a militarized society as we do. And yet we're just this outlier sitting here, even though we're watching our loved ones be massacred on a regular basis. We are the only country with a right to bear arms, yet no true constitutional restrictions on that, even though, as Cenk observed yesterday, well-regulated militias right there. But for some reason, the Supreme Court wants to have a bastardized reading of the Second Amendment so that these gun manufacturers can continue to fill the coffers of our members of Congress. It is so incredibly disheartening to see that other countries can get it together and avoid the loss and death of their people unnecessarily at the hands of guns, yet we still are on the struggle bus for this. And so when we have now 101 mass shootings, We know that, again, there are other countries that have used models of stricter gun control and been successful. This per CNN. In South Africa, gun-related deaths almost halved over a 10-year period after new gun legislation, the Firearms Control Act of 2000, went into force in July 2004. The new laws made it much more difficult to obtain a firearm. Britain tightened its gun laws and banned most private handgun ownership after a mass shooting in 1996, a move that saw gun deaths drop by almost a quarter over a decade. These people are making wise decisions to preserve the lives of their people. Why we can't is beyond me.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts, Cenk?
Yeah, so last couple of things here. Number one, the gun industry is not alone. The healthcare industry also kills 45,000 people a year. Because you don't have health insurance, because they can't afford their premiums or deductibles, et cetera, 45,000 people die every single year. And that's a stadium full of people. We should all be absolutely outraged by that, but there's no outrage at all. Why? Because mainstream media is our opiate for the masses. It's okay, don't look at the corruption. No, the drug companies are paying them, the healthcare companies are paying them, insurance companies, the gun manufacturers, defense contractors. We spend more money on defense than the other top 10 countries combined, and on and on and on. All of this going to death. But it's okay, somebody's making a profit. So everybody on TV says, oh, it's normal. It's not at all normal. We have a gun homicide rate that is 18 times the average of other developed nations. 18 times. Not, oh, well, we're like 18% higher. No, we're 180% higher. Wait, I think 18 times might be 1,800. Whatever, 18 times larger than other countries. So is it the guns? It is 100% the guns. Anyone who tells you otherwise is completely ignorant. They don't know anything. And I guarantee you they love their guns and they feel inadequate and they feel like they need the guns. And they're lying to you on purpose. They're lying to themselves. They don't know it. They're in a trance. They're like, oh, us getting murdered at 18 times the rate. That's a great thing. That's called freedom. No, it's called death. Okay, one thing that's, here, let me show you the last one. Mass shootings. Show that chart, just so you see a sense of scale. Because look, there's wall-to-wall lies in America. So if you go online, the right wing will say, no, we don't have as many mass shootings. Or it's not a big deal, or it's not guns. Look at it, look at the number of mass shootings. Gee, I wonder which one is us. Can you tell? All of this is because we allow bribery of our politicians. If you allow bribery, every company is going to bribe the politicians. Every industry is going to bribe them, even if it means that we get killed for it. We're killing ourselves for profit because the Supreme Court legalized bribery. And the goddamned mainstream media won't call it corruption. They won't call it bribery. By the way, all the politicians in Washington, damn them to hell too, including the Democrats. When are you going to call it corruption? When are you going to call it bribery? By the way, progressives in Congress, are you ever going to act? Look, telling me that you're outraged by the guns and that we should have gun regulation is useless. Totally useless. I know, progressives have been saying that, Democrats have been saying that for decades. Are you going to do anything about it? Well, what would you do about it? Well, you would say, hey, here's a senator and he takes this many bribes and he's drenched in blood because of it. Oh no, but that would offend my dear colleagues. And my colleagues' feelings are so much more important than those dead 7 people in Northern California, 11 dead in Southern California, hundreds murdered in these massacres already in 23, 24 days. But we wouldn't want to offend effing senators, would we? Offend them all deeply. Talk about how corrupt they are and how they're the sickest people in America. But no, Democrats and progressives. No, we've been told by mainstream media, you have to be civil and polite, and you have to obey and be a good little boy and a good little girl and get a pat on the head for being civil. Keep being civil while we all die out here. Okay, nothing's gonna change ever as long as the progressives in Congress are neutered, or sit there like lumps on a log, and are so afraid. They're so afraid of Democratic leadership. They're so afraid of the mainstream media. It's corporate media. It's the people that you're supposed to be fighting. but instead you're playing patty cakes with them. Would you like to wake the F up already? Okay, look, the Republicans are the most guilty. Corporate Democrats are the second most guilty. Mainstream media maybe tops them all, let alone right-wing media. But yes, progressives, you're the least guilty, but you're still guilty because you just sit there and take it. And because you've been cowed. You've been absolutely cowed. You're on your knees. Oh, what if corporate media criticizes me? Who gives a damn? Fight for us. Fight for us. God damn it, why did we send you? Fight for us. But you won't, and more people will get killed. But your colleagues will be so happy with you. And Anderson Cooper and Jake Tapper and Joy Reid will give you a pat on the head and say, good boy, good girl, shut up and obey, they'll say, and you'll do it. Let's keep it real. Again, the progressives are the least guilty, but all of you in Washington, every politician in the country that doesn't fight like hell, why don't you see them doing this? Oh, but it would be uncivil. And the NPR and New York Times would say, oh, I'm being so uncivil, I should just let everybody get murdered. Just let them get murdered and be civil. And everybody will get along in Washington. They'll pass that money around. Money, 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 money. Say the goddamn words, corruption, bribery. Say the effing words. But you won't because you're cowards. I said it. Live with it because that's your actions. Young Turks, we'll be back.